Hey everybody, today I pulled a snail out of my waterfall tank here to feed to my figure 8 puffer, and when I tried to pull it off the glass as gently as I could, its shell just completely disintegrated in my hand. It was so soft it wasn't even worth calling it a shell. So I've got really super soft water, and I'm going to add some eggshells to this tank. I don't know if that's going to actually add a significant amount of calcium, but every time I've added eggshells in the past to a tank, my snails or shrimp that were in the tank, anything that had a shell or an exoskeleton on it, has always improved in health. So I don't necessarily think I need it for this tank, but these snails, or the snails that I picked up today in particular, was so soft that it just seems like it's a little too demineralized. I need some kind of calcium in the tank. And in fact, I have a molly in here, and it's surprising how the molly is probably a year and a half old. Now that I'm looking at it, his belly is starting to get a little swollen. So putting a little bit of salt and a little bit of calcium into the tank is probably going to be a good idea. I did check the pH. We're at 6.75. And I've found that even in my tanks where the pH is above 7, where theoretically you might say that eggshell will not dissolve in basic water or alkaline, some people say alkaline water, anything above 7. And in my experience, it does take longer, but the eggshells still do eventually go away. And I don't know how to account for that, because in theory, I understand that they shouldn't dissolve if the water is not at least slightly acidic. But in this case, it doesn't matter. We don't have to worry about it one way or the other because the water is slightly acidic. So here is the eggshells. And you can see I've got it pretty finely ground with my mortar and pestle here. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to try to get it in the tank without having it go everywhere. I'm not trying to distribute this stuff evenly around the tank. I just want to get a pile of it in there in the middle somewhere. And I'm going to try doing it in a way that I've never done it before. I'm going to experiment with a way I used to feed some bottom-dwelling fish when I had to make sure I got food to the bottom. And it's going to involve just sticking a PVC pipe in there and then pouring water down through it. So let me put you on pause for a moment while I get this set up, and then we will see how well this works or not. Alright, I'm back. Now, I don't know how well this is going to work. My chief concern, if you've ever done this with eggshells before, is not so much that they're going to sprinkle all over the bottom of the tank. It's that they don't break the surface tension and they float all over the surface of the tank, and it takes forever to get them to all break the surface tension and finally sink. So I've mixed it into some water, and then we're just going to pour it into some PVC pipe, and hopefully it will go down. The only problem is I've either got it floating on the surface or sitting on the bottom. So I'm going to try to sort of swirl it and get it mixed up into the water column as I pour it. And again, we're just going to kind of see what happens as we attempt this. And I guess we can just pour it right down in here. We'll get it near the roots. Actually, we'll do it over here and get it near the roots of this Java. That'll always help that out a little bit. So there's already some floating on the surface. Let me pour some of this out of here first. Well, as I was afraid, most of it's just staying in the cup here. Well, I won't call it a failure. Didn't turn out quite as good as I expected, but you know, that's why we try things, see how they work out. And let me get you off the tripod here for a second. In fact, let me put you on pause so you don't get all the rattling around. Alright, you can see how much is floating on the surface. But if I had just tried to pour it right from the... honestly, I'm not sure if that's the mortar or the pestle. I think it's the mortar, and then the pestle is what you actually crush it up with. Anyway, if I had dumped it right from that in there dry, it would look like it snowed across the surface of the water. So at least, if you're going to do that, at least put it in something like this first, mix it up, and then put that underwater. And of course, as soon as you do that, you're going to get some stuff that's going to float. But once it's underwater, you can turn it over and maybe pour some stuff out. And again, we'll get in there after a while and I'll swish my hands all around and all that little tiny fine granules of crushed up eggshell will work their way down between the substrate and everything, and won't make a huge difference, but it'll add a little bit of mineralization to the water. Again, you can see that molly right there is definitely looking a little bit bloated, and mollies tend to prefer harder water, or at least water that's got some aquarium salt in it. So that'll be my next step, is to put about a teaspoon per gallon, maybe 40 teaspoons of aquarium salt in here. And I know 40 teaspoons looks like a lot, and it sounds like a lot, and in fact it's going to look like a lot, so maybe I'll do that in another video. I'll show you how much salt 40 teaspoons of salt actually looks like as it goes in here. So make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss any of that. Don't forget, this one here is my waterfall tank. So thanks for watching. I'll see you real soon in the next one.